Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I'm your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, I got my co-host in the building tonight, leader of the SWAT team, Mr. Hondo himself, Mr. James O'Reilly.
Wait, was Hondo Samuel L. Jackson or Colin Farrell?
No, Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay, I'll take it then.
I think you're cool enough to pull a Samuel L. Jackson type. So I gave you.
I mean, that's not something you can say about yourself, so I'll defer to you. You can't. You would not be
I'll,
as cool as Samuel L. Jackson if you personally said you were as cool as Samuel L. Jackson. So I'm gonna
well,
step back.
I'll give you the honorific, and I will take the title of Michelle Rodriguez. And each week we take a look at my 1,000 movies I've seen in theaters, and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. So if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that sub button on YouTube, leave that 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's how you help the channel grow. We are, what is this, episode 50, I think, finally now, Jim?
I have no idea. You
We're
got me
we're we're high up there, but we know it's a tenor because now it's once again over to Jim's pick. And Jim, what have you chosen for us to watch tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I told you last week I chose a movie that I had not thought about in many, many moons. 2003's SWAT.
I would say this is a movie that many people have not thought of in many, many moons, if they've seen it at all. The 2003 action film, directed by Clark Johnson, written by surprising name here, David Ayer, a pre big Suicide Squad and all those movies he does today. David Ayer, obviously a huge writer today, and David McKenna. Sorry, we never heard of you, my friend. And starring Colin Farrell, Samuel L. Jackson, and Michelle Rodriguez. Now we got the DVD cover here as always. It's been a while since we've shouted out a blurb, but I have to shout out a blurb here, Jim, because on the front cover they gave the boy himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Roger Ebert,
Hey, all
and,
right.
and Mr.
No
Roger
way.
Ebert.
What random quote did they pull from Ebert's review to make it sound like he liked this?
So he put on here the best cop film since Training Day. which uh,
Whoa.
which would track because David Ayer also wrote Training Day. So I guess that holds up. He's nothing if not consistent.
That might be a thing worth exploring, actually. Well, maybe we'll talk more about that a little bit later. The best cop movie since Training Day. I guess there wasn't much time between this and Training Day, right?
Yeah, I would
Only
imagine
like
only
a couple
like
of years.
2 to 3 years maybe. And also, I feel like around this time, not as many cop movies as we used to get. David Ayer really like
Um,
cornered the market on the cop film.
yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll
Oh,
look more into
yeah,
that later.
maybe we'll take a look at some cop movies later, see if we can't find some good cop movies in there to go up against SWAT and the aforementioned Training Day. But we got our log line here on the back cover, and it reads: Two wisecracking, battle hardened veterans team up with a pair of street smart rookies to form the most freewheeling but effective SWAT team ever. Their first assignment: transport an international drug kingpin into federal custody after he's offered 100 million to anyone who will free him.
Yeah, I
Was
mean, yeah.
um was Colin Farrell that wisecracking in this movie?
No, not really. I mean, like, there was some banter between like all of the SWAT people, so maybe that's kind of what they're getting at.
But I guess, yeah, very loose there. But we'll give it to him. We'll give it to him. And then also, I don't know how freewheeling that SWAT team was, but all right, logline, you do you.
I don't know. They were pretty freewheeling. They like decided to rip a wall out of a guy's house.
It's true, dude. He did
That's
have
pretty
his sweet
freewheeling, and
battle.
I'm pretty sure nobody just like approved that.
They were riding by the seat of their pants.
That's
Uh,
not in the handbook.
they're writing their own handbook. They play by their own rules. Now you saw this in theaters?
Yeah. This is definitely one I saw with my dad.
Was your dad big into the original TV show? Have you ever seen the TV show?
I did not know it was a TV show until about 10 minutes before we started recording this, so no. He might have been into the TV show though. He was all these kinds of movies. He's always telling me like, "Oh yeah, like he knows the TV shows like the back of his hand." So he probably would have known that this was that.
Seen a few episodes. Yeah, I've never. I knew that it was based on a TV show, even back when I watched it last time, but I've never watched the TV show. And I wonder what it's like because I think it's in the 70s, right? That show.
Yeah. When I saw it earlier, it was from like 75, I think is what it said.
Yeah. So I imagine it very, very different from the SWAT that we get today. Much more hypercharged and very masculine, this movie, compared to probably what the 70s TV show was.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
It would be fun to go back and check those out. Yeah, I can't remember when I saw this movie first. It wasn't a theater watch, and I don't know if I watched it like very recently after it came out. Like I know I saw it when we were in high school, but I couldn't tell you when. It's just one of those movies that, came in one year and went out the other.
Yeah, and very, very forgettable. Like I remembered some of the plot, but there was a lot more in there than I remembered.
Yeah, yeah. Outside of who was in it, I wouldn't have been able to tell you a single plot detail about this movie. So it's very much in a long line of 2003 movies that just floated away with the wind and just fell out of our collective memory. And that goes for the box office. Interestingly enough, too. So let's turn it over to our box office numbers. Dive in there, Jim.
Numbers, dates, numbers, numbers, dates. Hooray. Dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right. So, SWAT opens the weekend of August 8th through August 10th against
Dog
an
Days of
80.
Summer.
Yeah, right, the Dog Days of Summer, where we've seen a lot of comedy movies do well in this stretch, but usually if you're a big action movie, it's like a little bit old for you. It's a little bit late for you to be getting in the game. Um, August 8th to August 10th against an $80 million budget, which again, lot of money to be
That
spending.
That is a lot. Although, like, you could kind of see it on camera here. There's plenty of action scenes that I could see justifying that budget towards the end.
Oh yeah, I mean it definitely makes more sense for an action movie like this than the 60 or 70 million for something like Kangaroo Jack did, you know?
Or even
So,
like you look at this movie, which is so much more special effects heavy, and it's only 80 million, and yet last week's Cat in the Hat was 109. It's like what? Like where did that extra
right.
money go to?
Right, exactly. So not necessarily saying they spent too much making this, but just basically pointing out that they're coming in with a pretty high bar to clear, right? This is that kind of movie. They spent money, they're looking to make a lot in return. And it does open number one with 37, just like basically about 37 million even.
That is going to put us in the 27 spot, right behind, oh man, right behind last week's Cat in the Hat with 38.3 and just ahead of Armageddon's 36. So that's some company there. God, it's the fucking Cat in the Hat.
Cat in the Hat, man.
It's going to haunt me
What
for
a
the rest of our
disaster.
days.
So it beats out, and like life is a series of regrets, TJ, because I'm looking at the number two
Yeah.
movie
All
here,
right. Yeah, let's hear it.
and I'm saying, why couldn't I have picked this? Like, I'm already regretting this. Coming in second place, it's the opening week of the Lindsay Lohan vehicle, Freaky Friday.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's something. I like that they are duplicating that opening weekend for the sequel next year. It's also coming out in the Dog Days of Summer. Can they
But
replicate the success?
they're making a sequel to the Lindsay Lohan Freaky Friday? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
John,
saying?
I have you not? I would have thought you would be always in the know for Lindsay Lohan. Yeah,
I have not heard this.
her and Jamie Lee Curtis are back, and it's called Freakier Friday.
Are they switching again, or is it going to be
I
like a Lindsay
couldn't
Lohan has a daughter kind of scenario?
couldn't tell you, Jim, but I would imagine it's probably the latter that she has a daughter.
They've got me so intrigued already. They're geniuses at
Dude,
marketing.
I know you're in. I know you're in. Day one guy over there.
But anyway, Freaky Friday comes in second with 22.2 million, so a pretty distant second. It's very far behind here. And then in third place, remember this is like my pick, so we've gone back in time a little bit. In third place, we have the absolute abomination that is American Wedding.
Holding around in there.
Yeah, context, it's the second week of American Wedding.
Yeah, yeah. Dropping down the third.
There's no real other big openings that week besides Freaky Friday.
I mean, whatever there is, we've exhausted the box office in August a lot anyway in
Yeah,
previous episodes.
that's a fair point. Yeah. So going into week 2, SWAT drops 51.1% down to
Cool.
18.1 million, which is pretty
That's
big.
that's a kick in the teeth right there.
Especially because it didn't get a huge number, right? If
Yeah.
you made like 80 or 90 million and you drop 50%, I'm like, okay, you're still pulling in a pretty big total. But when you start from like 36, 37 and you're already cutting it in half,
Yeah, not a good motion of the ocean. You want to be on the rise, and they're sinking.
life is a series of regrets. Uptown
Up
Girls
here he
got in
goes
fifth
again.
place.
God, Uptown Girls,
Uptown
get out,
Girls.
get out. You did not see that in theaters.
No, but I still would pick it. You don't know that.
Fair, fair.
What are you gonna tell me I didn't? What do you need to see
I'm
a ticket?
gonna drive over to your house right now and ask your parents. Did Jim go see Uptown Girls?
Yeah, they would definitely know. The people who buy me the same movie every Christmas would definitely know that I saw it. I mean, like you said, we've talked about this, the 2003 August and fall times a bunch. So I'm just gonna ride SWAT out of the top 10, right?
Imagine it'll be
Um,
long.
Weekend 3, it stays in second, 41.6% drop down to 10.6.
All right, all right.
Weekend 4 down to third place, 21.2% drop down to 8.3. That's also Labor Day weekend. So it has like for Labor Day weekend, that 4 day total, it pulls in like another like nearly $11 million. So it's staying a little stronger than you might think going into
Yeah,
the
it's
fall.
not for especially for like an August like that's it's not doing horrible there. It's not amazing, but they're definitely not like all hands on deck. We've got a stinker here.
Right. And then yeah, let's just weekend 5 it's in fifth, weekend 6 it's in ninth, and then finally in weekend 7 it drops down to 15.
6 weeks is not bad. That's good enough to put you with some other notable movies like Shallow Hal, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Terminator 3, and Brother. Not my brother, my
Yeah.
brother.
I mean, that's kind of good company. It's again not really the company the movie they spent $80 million on is
Yeah,
looking for, right?
it's not where you want to be hanging out, but you know, it could be worse.
And then just some totals. Domestic, it finishes with 116.9 million.
Okay.
International, 90.8 million for a worldwide total of 207.7.
All right. Honestly, off a $70 budget, that's not bad. It's not probably the slam dunk they were hoping for, but you got on base. 207 going to put us in the number 35 spot, right behind Elf's 220 and just ahead of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days 177. It's interesting to look at it in that context because it's pretty much just behind Elf. Elf, this movie that is kind of cemented as like this generational status. And SWAT didn't do that much worse than it box office wise, but got so murdered critically that a movie disappears just from the conversation of film as years go on. It's interesting how that could work, even though these movies are pretty similarly like totals here. The big
Yeah,
difference being that
well,
Elf costs a lot less than SWAT did,
yeah, Elf
but
costs
still.
a lot less, and it's also at this point when their theater run is over, one of them you're saying, man, that was a pretty mediocrely successful action movie, and the other one you're saying, this is a holiday classic that will stand the test of time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're clearly gonna make a lot more money off of one than the other in the long run, right?
Yeah, those DVD sales are gonna soar for a certain one and probably not so great for the other one.
Yeah, and I don't even mean DVD sales necessarily. I just mean whatever media exists after theaters,
Yeah.
there's one of these movies they're going to be talking about, as we can say, from the future for like 20 plus years and beyond, because it's a Christmas movie that really hits, you know?
You're telling me that we didn't get a SWAT musical?
Yeah,
Is that what you're
exactly.
saying? Son of
And
a
then
bitch.
the other one is like, if you talk to somebody who was, I don't know, like 15 years old today, you'd be like, no, I swear, Colin Farrell, the guy from all those Oscar bait movies, was like in SWAT. Like, I don't know
All
what to
right.
tell you.
Go ask one of those kids today. The Penguin show, the Penguin. You know
Right.
that guy? Yeah, like he was in a
Right.
movie called SWAT with Samuel L. Jackson back in 2003. They'd be like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really make big Hollywood fare like this anymore, right?
No, not really. Well, because movies like this, like they pushed him into that leading man type role, but then they gave him movies like this that really cooled everyone off on him to the point that you kind of almost have to rebuild your image in Hollywood. So then he pivots to start being known as this, guy that you could put not only in these indie movies and he's going to kill it, but also these like then he starts to become the A24 guy showing up in a bunch of those. And now he's
Yeah,
kind of like clawed his way back into that bubble of blockbuster filmmaking with the Batman now.
right. I kind of just assume if you're an Irish guy getting put in movies like that, like really if you're from anywhere outside of the United States, and this is my bias showing, I kind of just assume that you're actually a more serious actor who just happens to be pretty handsome. So they're like, here you go, here's some movies. Whereas if you were from like Kentucky, I'd be like, oh my God, this guy is not a real actor, you know?
Got that
So
the
I
the
wonder if
brogue.
that's like at the time Colin Farrell's like a more serious actor and they're like, listen, they're gonna give you like a bunch of money to be in all these like big budget movies. Like you can't say no to this, you know?
Well, I
When
mean,
really the real Colin Farrell was beneath the surface the whole time.
yeah. Well, I wonder, do you plan on diving into Colin Farrell later?
I don't think so.
Well, because
Because there's a couple of other things I want to do later in IMDb.
interesting. Well, so then, well, that was gonna, tell me what I'm going to say next or not.
I'll
Interesting.
tease this a little bit. What I will say is we will talk about Colin Farrell, but like very briefly.
Gotcha. But
And what is maybe the best part, like this is
yeah,
up there with Bart the Bear for IMDb deep dive segments.
already ready. I love it. And I wonder how quickly they cooled on Colin Farrell, specifically in this year. I think it's 2003 to 2004 because he has that run of
Yeah, hold on.
Bullseye.
I'm gonna stop you there. Just save it because we're gonna bring it up.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. All
It's
right. All
gonna
right. So
come
I'll
up
say,
in
yeah,
again what is
yeah.
maybe the
We
funniest
could,
thing.
yeah. So it's easy to see how they could have cooled off on him very quickly in these years that we grew up here in high school in the early 2000s. They really put him in just a wild assortment of movies.
What I'm
To see what
interested to
happened.
hear, I want to hear like what insane, strongly held beliefs people have about Colin Farrell
Oh,
in 2003.
people had some thoughts on this movie. Critically, this is about where you would expect this movie to land. It's very much a middle of the road, mediocre affair. 48% from the critics. We got 52 from the audience, so they're pretty much right on the money there. Everyone really agreed that this movie pretty mediocre. 6.1 from IMDb, and the dreaded B plus cinema score.
Oh
So
no,
yeah,
that's a disaster.
might as well already pack it in. Like we're done here. And then I got two one-star reviews that really just I love them. I love them so much. And
Okay,
I'm
hit
gonna
me.
give them to you, Jim. So we got our first one. He titles his review, "You're either SWAT or you're not." I'm not.
Oh
SWAT.
no.
SWAT is what is wrong with American movies today. Pitch it to a demographic and make up the story as you go along, because the only scripts that New Hollywood uses are at the pharmacy. I did not care for any of the characters. In fact, by the time the third act came, I hoped they would all be shot, ran over, or they would stop the film and the studio heads passed out some of those good drugs they took to greenlight this flick. The only positive thing I could say about SWAT is that it was the best nap I've had in a long time.
All right, so a couple things. First of all, I think we found out what happened to the Sunny Side Up guy. Because what a drop with the only scripts they're using are at the pharmacy.
Sorry, dude, you did not have to go
Whoa.
that hard for a one-star review. Damn.
Yeah. Where is that guy writing copy? Because Jesus.
Yeah, that is amazing.
And then, yeah, pretty great dig that it's the best nap he's had in a while.
Oh my god.
Not nearly as insane as most of our one-star reviews. Very witty, but usually like I was expecting him to break into like police conspiracy theories. Like,
Oh, hitting into Jim, you want a nut job. That's what don't I
that's
got a nut job for you here,
that
Jim.
is what I came here for.
Here we
Yeah.
go. All right, well then let me turn your attention to our second review. Another one star here. And this sad sap writes, well, this is a poor excuse for a movie. It wasn't long into this movie when I began to realize that, with the exception of the star, every loser, dimwit, traitor, or antagonist is white. Meaning the only
Oh
cop that
boy.
gets shot is white. The terrorist from another country is white. The cop that goes bad is white. The prissy, stuck up people on the plane are white. The pinhead police captain that everybody hates is white. The guy that commits suicide is white, etc., etc., etc. All the heroes are African American or Hispanic. Of course, the filmmakers had a scene where a black cop arrests a black man and a black lady in front of her house says, don't you have anything better to do than put another black man in jail? A pretty much useless, pointless scene that was obviously a cover for all the anti-white racism throughout the rest of the movie. In a time where we are to be politically correct and doing all we can to erase racism, this movie just goes
Oh
and does
boy.
it to the white person. Had the
Oh
story
no.
plots, had the story plots
Time is a flat
portrayed
circle.
the story plots portrayed any other race in the way they did whites, there would have been protests and outrage. Boycotts would have taken places before the movie hit the theaters. But I guess to these filmmakers in the film studio, racism is okay as long as it's directed towards the whites.
Oh my god, dude. Are you sure you didn't get that from 2024?
Dude, this was written fucking opening weekend 2003. Like,
It's just so funny to me because it's like, yeah, dude, because guess like who 98% of the people in movies are at this point. Like,
like
everybody in every movie is white. Like, what are you talking about?
it's so insane. But also, like, he completely misses the other member of the SWAT team that gets shot, who's a white guy that heroically like sacrifices himself, like, and gets
Yeah.
shot like in the car. Like they like it's just like, dude, like what are you talking about?
Wait,
Like
you mean that like race bait wasn't rooted in facts? No way. That's that's so uncharacteristic of
you
comments
mean
like this.
you mean this guy doesn't have a leg to stand on?
Yeah. That's, no, I mean that's so wild.
It's
That's
so
so funny to
it's
me.
so funny. Yeah, that would, dude. When I saw that one, I was like, "That's the winner." There we
Oh
go.
yeah, and second thing, there's no way anybody would have been like you could have done basically anything in the movie SWAT and nobody would have been boycotting it or stopping it from getting released. There's no way. It's
Like,
just
yeah,
that's not true.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely insane. Like, it's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like,
Not in 2003 anyway.
yeah, 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 very true. Just I love seeing this. Might be my favorite thing that we started doing, just because it really has opened my eyes to just how insane people have always been when it comes to film discourse. Like everyone thinks it's so bad right now, and then you
Yeah.
find this guy hit an opening weekend of 2003, like hitting
Well,
all the
it's
points that we're hitting today.
I would still say it's worse now. What I would say the difference is like people day to day engage with stuff like that way more often than they did back then.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I don't know
definitely.
about you, but I wasn't reading any IMDb reviews in like 2003 or 4 or 5.
Exactly. They were much less readily available because you had to like search it out if you really wanted to see that stuff. Whereas now, kind of everybody really peruses YouTube or some site or TikTok or whatever, and they just inundate it with stuff like that
Yeah.
now. So it's
They
just
get
it's
that opinion like 1,000 times a day because it's
yeah.
the same opinions they get from everything they like, and the algorithm like feeds it to them. And
And
then they start also making comments. Whereas back then, like if you read this, you'd be like, "What is going on IMDb?" And nowadays, it's like that's what's going on every social media website that exists, right? Like,
it's everywhere. You can't see a single movie come out now without somebody losing their fucking mind over something.
yeah, but it is still really funny to look back and be like, "Oh my God, this it's not so different, you and I."
Yeah, like that paragraph, someone like a YouTuber today could have easily just taken verbatim and just used it for any
Right,
movie.
right,
Like,
exactly, Exactly.
Yeah,
It's word for word. You just take out the word SWAT and put in like any movie title you want to be angry about. You know?
yeah, it's insane. I'm gonna have to email that to all the rage bait YouTubers that I don't watch them, but I always see their thumbnails pop up like in the recommended, and I'm like, yeah, good try, YouTube.
Yeah,
Not
it
falling,
like it
not
reads
falling
like
for
a
that
copy
one.
pasta too, which is
Yeah.
like so ridiculous.
Ridiculous. And then we got one 10 star here. Weren't as many good 10 stars, but we got one person here that just had to let it be known. 10 out of 10. I am normally not a person who watches action movies. However, I read the book that was written from the script of this movie, so I decided to watch it. I read the comments of other people about plot holes. However, I think this is just because of the visual aspect of the movie. You can't tell
Ooh.
who's shooting the chopper down. That's gamble, obviously. This is definitely a good movie, even if you don't read the book. But if you want to understand the plot better, you should read the book. What?
Wait, there's like a do they mean like the screenplay or is there an actual book?
Jim couldn't tell you.
That's-
Couldn't tell you. Whatever this person's on, just but she hit the point in the head that the 10 stars always do. If you want to understand it better,
Yeah, right, right. You just missed the point,
like
guys.
listen, it's a great movie. You just didn't understand what Colin Farrell was going for.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I don't think that exact sentence about a lot of different movies, but what I've learned in reading these 10-star reviews is that I should maybe take a step back and realize how much I believe that because
It's
literally every movie in existence, you can find somebody saying this about it. So
amazing. Like every 10 star review, there's that one person in there who was like, you just didn't understand it, bro. Like
yeah, you just didn't get it, bro.
yeah.
So
They teach a
I don't
course
know.
down. They teach a course down at the Y. Like maybe you should sit in one day,
Yeah, it's
like
like if somebody
learn
tells
a
me
thing or
No
two.
Country for Old Men is boring, I say, I don't know, maybe you just didn't get it, you know?
Yeah, it
Um,
is. It is funny how we do. How everyone's got that movie that they'll use that
well,
they'll defend that for.
I think it's way more defensible for No Country for Old Men. Like
Oh,
I use that
absolutely.
as an example because I think that that's like pretty legitimate, but
Yeah.
it's the same argument, like exactly the same argument being used for SWAT is really making me like, maybe I should like examine when I think the words like that. Just like take a step back and really see if it's a No Country for Old Men is boring, or if it's maybe me just like being a little too attached.
Elitist about it. No, I would say for No Country for Old Men, you could absolutely die on that hill and take that stance. I would full wholeheartedly agree with it. I just did it to one of my employees the other day.
Uh-huh.
He's like a 17-year-old kid. He's a good kid, but he had the nerve to try and tell me that Titanic is a 1 star movie, and I was just
Ooh,
not
ooh,
standing for any of that. And I broke down his arguments one by one. Oh,
good.
yeah. And I said that exact line. I was like, what? I was like, when did you watch it? He's like, I watched it when I was like 11. I was like, dude, now I was like, now you got to watch it as you're older
Yeah,
now.
you
Maybe
should
you'll
maybe watch it as an
understand
adult.
it. Maybe you'll understand it a little bit better, like the themes in the movie than when you're like 11. Like I watched it when I was 11. You know what I took from it? Kate Winslet had great breasts. Like that's what I took from that at
Yeah,
11.
right,
Like
right. Which is maybe like less than 3 minutes of a 3 hour movie. So maybe there's more to it than that, you know?
maybe I should go back. So I love it's such a great discourse for the 10 out of 10ers. But now we'll turn SWAT over to us now and see where we lie on the spectrum here for SWAT. Let's hear some thoughts, Jim. How'd you feel about this movie?
It's painstakingly 2003. It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it just every chance it gets, every choice it makes, it's like I'm gonna do the most stereotypical early 2000s movie thing I can think of.
So that was literally my review on Letterboxd for the movie. I just wrote the most 2003 movie ever made.
Yeah, because it really is. It's just it's what I think. If you just said, "Hey, what's an action movie from 2003 like?" I don't know that I had the name SWAT before, but now that I've seen SWAT, I think it's SWAT, and I would have known exactly the vibe of it, and it's this, you know,
Yeah,
all
it's
like down to the all the like musical interludes with like contemporary 2003 music from Colin Farrell and Samuel L. Jackson to Dude, how great was the police obstacle course they were doing?
It was absurd. It was hilarious. Just when they're doing the shoot off one, and you got the two of them just do like the fucking tumble roll like every time.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
Samuel
like
L. Jackson showed up that day and he's like, nah, there's no tumble rolls in my contract, bro. Not happening.
it's like I'm not tumble rolling.
Yeah, no way. Um, but yeah, I mean, so it's the most 2003 movie ever. And one of the things that surprised me is that it was way different than I remembered. I thought that this movie was where the beginning happens and Jeremy Renner gets fired and Colin Farrell doesn't get fired. And then not too long after that, they're like, hey, we have to escort this guy. And he's like, people are going to be trying to break him out, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like a whole hour's worth of movie in between those two events that I was like, wait a second, what is this?
I want to hear your thought on this. Is there any dumber setup in film history than the way they get our villain into police custody?
Wait, when they got him, they like just like picked him
Like
up
they
on some
just pull him
nonsense,
over
right?
for a broken tail light and then bring him in. I'm like, dude, this movie is beyond stupid. Like,
Yeah, so I didn't really need any of that, right? All I need is
he
for
could
you
have
to
just
tell
been
me
in prison
this guy's a
already.
criminal mastermind and he's in prison for some reason. And that like I think that works better if it happens earlier, you know? But even if it happens later, just be like, "Oh, they're SWAT. Oh, by the way, they caught this high-profile guy," and then just go get him, you know?
Yeah. Or even like if you want to show him like getting arrested or whatever, maybe make it like the opening of the movie, and then that's like something that's lingering over the rest while they're like learning how to be SWAT people because we're like, oh, but he's gonna somehow get like invariably come back around. But you don't
Yeah,
even
I
need
mean,
that. Like literally, just be it like they're training to be SWAT members. What's our first job? We're transporting this fucking like international criminal, and right as they're about to take him, he puts the bounty out. Like there, that's all I need.
yeah. I mean, I could see it being the intro to the movie. Like, I get what you're saying, that kind of sets up the stage, and it's a little bit separate from where we're going to be spending. You can create a little mystery for what's going to happen with that, and then come back to it in like 5 or 10 minutes.
You could have like an explosive
Um,
opening. They do have an
here's
explosive opening.
here's why I don't think it really matters. And I honestly I like the opening of this movie really the way it is. I don't think you should do anything different than them busting into that like bank or whatever it was and Jeremy Renner like shooting a guy against
Yeah.
police orders.
The fact that Jeremy, like his character, is absolutely insane from the get go. Like,
Yeah.
and at no point is anybody like, dude, this guy is like certifiable.
I mean, this is kind of what I wanted to talk about though. Do you really think what he did was that bad?
I mean, I don't know. Me
Like not in
personally,
real life. In real life, I think it's like not even worth debating. I don't really care. Like those people
yeah,
can have whatever rules they want, right? But
yeah.
like in the movie, does it make him seem like such a bad guy? Because I feel like it's like in movie logic, he's like the hero.
No, in movie logic, and even like just watching that scene is like, yeah, like someone got a little injured, but he saved a bunch of lives. Like, and at the end of the day, isn't that the point?
Right,
Like, yeah.
right. He saved like the result is he saved the hostage, right? So like, is what he did really that bad?
And I love how quickly he goes from being like, I will do whatever I can to save people to I'm going to break an international criminal out of
Right.
jail and
And
murder friends. Like,
I guess what I'm questioning is if he was really that guy the whole time, I feel like they needed to do more heavy lifting to get me to see he was that guy, you
oh,
know?
absolutely. Well,
Because
because
I
I
think,
think,
at least in the movie, I think it's murky whether he did the right thing. And I
well, it's
think it's murky whether Colin Farrell did the right thing too, by the way. Because it doesn't seem like he was that bad of a dude, in the beginning, I'm like, wait, why is Colin Farrell throwing him under the bus? Like, that's not a cool move, you know?
well, I wonder if this is the scenario because like normally when we see movies like this, those people are the hero and they're bucking authority. But this is
Right.
a movie centered around authority, so you kind of have to make it seem like the institution is the hero. And there might be some bad apples within it, like their boss, the white dude who's like a douchebag. I have no idea what his name is.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes
but
a
like
lot of sense.
so yeah, so like I see how it's framed on both ends because this has to be a very pro like SWAT movie. So
Yeah,
like
but I get it.
obvious so obviously like him going against the SWAT team is like the bad move, but I'm with
Yeah,
you that he looks like a hero in that regard in movie like in other movies we would be rooting for that guy.
right. I guess what I'm saying is I agree with everything you just said about if the name of the movie is SWAT and we're trying to paint SWAT in a very good light here and like they're the heroes, they're the kind of like hangout home for us as the audience, right?
Mm.
Um I feel like you need to do a better job. Like you can make me root for them a lot more in the first like 15 minutes of that movie than you ended up doing, you know?
I definitely it is very very murky like you said. It's kind of like trying to like teeter on like both sides and it's not it doesn't work.
Yeah, like there's a version of this where Colin Farrell does something to like stop Jeremy Renner from doing something a little bit crazier, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God he was there, and thank God for SWAT's rules. I'm in, you know?
Yeah, like
Like,
that's what it should be. Like it should be that Jeremy Renner is too much of a loose cannon. Not that he's just like, I'm gonna go in and save the people. Like, yeah, that girl got nicked in the shoulder, but we also saved like everybody in the building. It's like, all right, yeah, like that's a
yeah.
pretty good day. Like,
So I don't know. I like the opening, I guess is kind of where I'm at here. I like the opening, and it had a lot of that like Point Break, like shaky cam
oh,
to
dude.
express how urgent it is.
Yeah. When it starts with like the fucking like grainy footage in the beginning, I'm like, this movie is so fucking 2000s. I can't take it.
Yeah, and it's got like all the police radios like blaring over everything. It was really cool, right?
Yeah.
So I
Also,
really like the
yeah, go on.
opening. I really like the opening. Um, and then fuck, what was I thinking about? I totally lost my train of thought. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Ooh, it's an illustration. No, I have another follow-up question.
Yeah,
So at one point, Samuel L. Jackson talks up how everybody in the world comes to train with LA's SWAT team. That's a load of shit, right? That's no way that's a real thing,
I
right?
don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that like it makes sense to me that Los Angeles is in a very big city, and so it has a lot more like reps at doing this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So like if I was like say I was like some sheriff in like Kentucky and I wanted like some ideas and like to get my guys some hands-on like training about how to handle situations like this that very rarely happen where I'm from. Like I could imagine sending them to LA. I don't know how true it is though.
I can get them setting in Kentucky, but he makes a line that like international people come to train with them. That they were like
The
Interpol and like
Beijing police.
MI6, and it was like, what, dude? Like, no way. And
Yeah,
also, like,
that
not that
seems a bit fishy.
yeah, like I'm sure it doesn't matter, obviously, in the real world. Like, if this movie in this movie's world, if they tell me they're the ones that are the best in the world, I'm with you, movie. Like, all right, let's see it.
Yeah, I
But I
believe it.
just
I
thought
mean,
that
how
was
many
fun.
cities have went through the Rodney King riots, you know? I mean,
It's very, yeah, very true. Yeah, I just thought that was such a funny line when he said that, and he like shouted out like international organizations, and I was like, what? Like, fucking,
wait, did
like,
he say MI6 in the
I
movie?
don't know
Is
if it
that
was
what you're
exactly
telling me?
I don't know if it was exactly MI6, but he said like international organizations, like other like cop organizations in other countries, like come to train
Yeah.
with them. And I
I
was
mean,
like, that
yeah, I
sounds like
believe it. I believe
yeah.
it specifically for the movie because that's
And
you're right. That is kind of the point. Is like they're supposed to be at the upper
they're supposed to be
echelon
like
of
the
this
best of the best.
profession.
Yeah, but then it just made me want to see that movie now. It's like, all right, like bring me I want to see that movie where you're bringing in like people from like the German special forces
Right,
come to
right.
train
Like
in
SWAT
LA.
2 is there's like a ragtag team. Well, no, not a ragtag team. SWAT 2 is kind of like Top Gun, only with cops from like different parts around the world, you know? Like there's a Brazilian guy, he's maybe
Yeah.
got like a soccer ball in his locker.
All
Like,
right, Jim, I'm calling Hollywood right now. Well, actually, they probably won't take the call right now, but when it cools down over there, we'll give him a call. We'll get SWAT 2 on the board. Colin Farrell's hot right now, man. He just won a Golden Globe for the Penguin. Like, we can make SWAT 2 happen.
yeah. All right, hear me out. They make SWAT 2, but like Colin Farrell's not the cop in it. It's like SWAT 2 starring the Penguin. Like he's like the antagonist. Like they're responding to like some crazy mafia shootout that's like unleashed or like some bank robbery that the Penguin's behind.
The end of the Penguin season just ties right into SWAT 2.
Yeah, because I mean, it's true to SWAT, and then it's true to the show The Penguin, because the whole time people are just gonna be like, "Where's Batman?" Like, I don't understand.
Batman's like, I got other shit to do. I just hired a bunch of SWAT team members to train people from other international states. Like,
Yeah.
we got this. They'll handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so hilarious. Um, very it's so interesting to me that like I love when you see so many actors that and I don't know if it's so much typecasted as they just like understand what role they're like best effective in, but
Yeah.
Michelle Rodriguez, one character in every single movie. Like
Yeah, and
name me the
she
difference
does it
between
really well.
her and Letty from Fast and the Furious in either of these movies. Like the what's
Yeah.
there's zero difference.
I mean, that's really though like I've heard this about actors a bunch where like part of like making it in Hollywood and like trying to get a career as an actor is like you really have to learn like just what people think of when they see you, right? Because like you're only going to see somebody on camera. You're getting a lot just from like looking at them in the first like 10 seconds they're on screen, right? So like it's like a thing where like actors will like go to an airport and be like, "Hey, like you see my buddy over there? Like write down like the first five things you think of when you see that guy or that girl, you know?" And like so like they really like they have a type that they just fit. And Michelle Rodriguez found her type and she plays it in every movie and she's made a great career doing that, you know?
It's always interesting to see the different types of actors and the ones who slot into doing that style of acting, like Michelle Rodriguez, like Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone were like two of the biggest ones, just being like, put them in a movie and just let them do their thing. The Rock is probably the biggest one doing it right now. And
Yeah.
then you have like the other actors that make a career off of being like character actors. Like you get like a Timothy Chalamet who never does the same thing twice.
Right, right.
And it's interesting to see like how these people get to slot into their brand.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the difference between whether you turn out to be Colin Farrell or The Rock is like if you're like really like talented. And like I'm not saying that Michelle Rodriguez and the like other people in that ilk aren't talented, but I don't know that she's winning any Oscars anytime soon. Like I don't know that she's giving any performances that really blow people away. She just has a job and she does it consistently and well for
Yeah.
like decades, you know?
And
They're
also
like,
like
we need a tough talking, no nonsense chick in this movie, and Michelle Rodriguez is like, I got you.
to be the person like if they have that role and the first person that they think of in that role is you've successfully built your brand. So like there's
Right.
something to be said for that as well. Like yeah, like you said, you probably won't win any major awards or anything, but awards isn't everything. Like you've got this CV of huge movies. The Fast and Furious franchise is huge. In the first Resident Evil, like she was in Avatar, like she's
Yeah.
built a career there. And that used to be the framework, especially back in like you look at the early days of Hollywood, like you just hired an actor and you had them on retainer and you just threw them in like 70 movies and you were like, just be you. Like
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's cool because she's not quite the guy who plays Hector in every movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
she's
that guy.
not, like, she's transcended that, you know? Like,
Yeah.
she's never, I don't know that I can think off the top of my head of any movies where she's really like, the star, you know what I'm saying? But I
Yeah, I
do
don't think
think that
so.
she plays a lot of these like second or third builds and she plays them
Wait,
like
you're telling
perfectly.
me she wasn't the star of Blue Crush?
I don't think she was.
No, no. Yeah, she was like the second or third in that in that party.
Yeah. But no, so like I don't know, kudos to her. And then I just remembered what my train of thought was earlier, right?
Okay, circle
So
back.
like I wouldn't change the opening of that movie for anything, right? I
Okay.
think it's like really good. Maybe change a few of the details, but I wouldn't change it to like something completely different.
Hmm.
My reasoning for not needing to set up the villain any earlier than like, hey, we're breaking into this new act and now they have to move this guy and I don't need to know anything about him because like what is there that I learn that is unique and interesting about that guy in this whole movie?
Nothing.
Nothing, right? Like he's like a cookie cutter like villain. You could just tell me before I even meet him, like, yeah, that guy's a scumbag, and then he acts exactly the way he acts for the like second two thirds of this movie, And I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need you to set anything up. I'm like,
The
all
only,
right, cool. He's like a criminal mastermind scumbag. Great. Thumbs up.
the only thing we learn about him in this movie is that he may or may not have $100 million.
Right. Well, no, I think it's pretty well established that he does.
I mean, we never
But
see any
like,
money. He could just be blowing smoke in people's asses.
I guess, but a he's like a criminal like kingpin in Europe is the point.
I mean, he
And like,
obviously does, but you never see
yeah,
it. So it's like he could just be blowing smoke up your ass.
right. Like, but if a criminal kingpin offers like a bunch of money, I'm assuming they have it. You know, like I'm like, all right,
You
yeah, that
assume he's
makes
good
sense.
for it. That is one of the other things that I found very questionable in this movie is how easily the one SWAT guy just decides to throw it all away for the $100 million
Yeah,
that
well,
the
I mean,
guy may or may not pay up.
listen, dude, they actually did a pretty good job of setting this up, I think. I mean, maybe not a pretty good job. They did like one scene where he's on that date and the girl's like, "Oh wow, you're like coming to places on like a SWAT salary," and he like they make it seem like he has expensive taste compared to what they make as SWAT officers. So like he, in theory, could be in a lot of debt. In theory, isn't living the life he wants to live all the time. Like he's a little bit lower class than he's trying to purport himself to be. So like it was like kind of believable.
It's like just that what it's that literally like 30-second blink and you'll miss it scene and then he turns. Like you could have spent a little bit more time maybe seeding that and building him into that.
Yeah, well, they it's funny because I kind of thought the opposite, where maybe not the exact opposite, but where I was like, man, they're really making it obvious that this guy's gonna turn this whole movie. Because it's like another reason why this is a very 2003 movie, I think, is because it does this thing that I think movies did a lot back then, and maybe not quite as much these days unless they're trying to misdirect you, where he's always the antagonist just for different reasons. You know what I mean? Like he's the one who, when Colin Farrell flips, is like, "Nah, man, that's not cool." And when he's in the gun cage, he's like, "Nah, you're just like a gun cage like lackey," you know? Like
Yeah.
he's always being a dick
He's
the
always
whole
in
time, and
opposition.
then it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, see, he was a dick. He flipped on him. Like I knew he was gonna do that."
Don't you feel validated by that guy's prickishness?
Right, like they're trying to get you to hate him way too hard for it to
Yeah.
be 2003 and him not to flip, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's not subtle.
Right, right.
Just right there out in the open. Um trying to think of it. How does Samuel Jackson feel for you in this movie?
Uh, like
Another
he's
another
collecting
man
a
much like
paycheck.
Michelle Rodriguez, who has just built his career just being Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, right, right. I mean, it feels like he's collecting a paycheck, but yeah, he's just being Samuel L. Jackson. They're like, "Hey, act cool and like, you're a fast talking, fun police sergeant, but also you get down to business." Like,
I think the big thing that like misses the mark for me in this movie is it feels very disjointed. It doesn't feel like a one cohesive story so much as it feels like two stories that just get tacked on top of each other.
yeah,
Because you have your first half of going through the origin story of them putting the team together, and we're going through the fun and games, we're having a lot of laughs, and then all of a sudden, like they're like, "Hey, this guy got arrested. He's calling 100 mil to break him out." And suddenly we're in this like dystopian. We're trying to get him out of town while all these criminals, like it turns into like the Warriors or some shit. Where it's like
right,
all these
right.
gangs are like trying to break. And it's just like it just feels like such a tonal shift that it's so abrupt and abrasive that it threw me for such a loop that
Yeah.
even though there are some like fun action scenes, like I thought that scene of them like stopping the the plane and it landing on the bridge was like really cool and interesting, but it was just like, man, this movie's all over the place to get there.
Yeah, you're touching on something I definitely agree with, which is that it's not even necessarily that they're two completely different stories. It's just that the tone of them is so different, right? Like the thing in the beginning, the hostage situation is crazy, but it's very rooted in reality, right? Like nothing about it seems like fantastical. Other like it's something that you could plausibly see on the news, you know?
Yeah.
Um And then like most of their early SWAT missions are like that too, where it's like, okay, yeah, there's just like a crazy guy who's holding himself hostage. Maybe it's a little wacky that they like rip his wall down, but it's like the tone of it is like a kind of grounded, like buddy cop redemption story where this guy like works his way out of the gun cage. And then the second half of it is like basically Suicide Squad, right? Like
It just
it's like
gets
we're gonna have
nuts
this insane
so quickly.
premise where like it's like Smoking Aces kind of, which Smoking Aces leans into it, where it's like a very ridiculous, like everybody's coming to get him kind of thing. But yeah, they don't really jive. They don't really jive. Like it gets
They don't.
way crazy midway through the movie. And if this movie was like 45 minutes shorter and they just got into that like in the first 10 minutes, I'd be like, "Yep, cool. I'm in." You know, like this feels like a cohesive thing and the tone is always ridiculous, so I'm not necessarily freaked out by it.
It's almost like they try to do. I think what probably saddles this is them feeling like they need to do some sort of like origin story for SWAT teams. Like
Right.
it's like if we want to really focus on like the second half of this movie, which is pretty balls of the walls, like just craziness, why not just start off early on, like Colin Farrell? This is like his first day with the new SWAT team or whatever, or some shit like that, or like they're
Yeah.
just and like just get to that, like just have the whole movie be that, and it's them trying to get out of this city that's now turned against them, and that's
Let me
the whole movie.
let me ask you a question that
Okay.
I think kind of answers your question, right?
Hmm.
What is different about this movie because Colin Farrell is coming out of the gun cage back to SWAT?
Nothing really.
Nothing. Like
Yeah.
nothing changes if
Yeah.
he's not doing that. So
Yeah.
why is he doing that?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand.
It's just a point in there to get Jeremy Renner where he needs to be.
Yeah, but like
We
you
could
could
do all that
still get
without
him
that.
there.
Yeah.
You just show that opening and then you cut to like, all right, Colin Farrell's now the big dick on the SWAT team. You know what I mean? Like what's the difference in the movie? It's the same exact movie.
Because you still have that opening scene exactly the way it happens. But the SWAT team is comprised of all the SWAT members that are actually, part of this movie. LL Cool J, Michelle Rodriguez, all them stuff. Samuel L. Jackson not taking Jeremy Renner's loose cannon fucking craziness anymore, cuts him loose. Colin Farrell's now the big dick on the block with him, like right underneath Samuel L. Jackson. And Samuel L.
Yeah.
Jackson's like, I can't have him on the team anymore because now our next job is transporting this criminal. And we can't have this motherfucker there. And there you go. You're set in for
Yeah.
everything still to happen exactly as you need to happen. And now
Right.
you
I
have
mean,
more fun within the actual craziness of the movie because
right.
that whole part where all that shit blows up and starts hitting the fan, it's over in
It's
an instant.
awesome. It's
It's awesome,
awesome.
but it's so quick. Like they go through the tunnels, they're out, they catch the plane, and it's over. It's
Yeah.
like what?
Yeah, I
I feel
mean,
like there's some
you're
more
not
meat
wrong.
here.
There's not a lot of meat to it, and it feels like there's a lot to explore in that part, and we waste a bunch of time being like, and he's in the gun cage, and now he's got to do the obstacle course, and look at that barrel roll.
Yeah, like there was no need for an origin story of SWAT. Like we just didn't
But
need
yeah,
it.
you hit the nail on the head though. It really is like two different movies because that ends, they do like a couple of like wacky SWAT missions. He gets to use his like rip the wall out of the house
The sweet
machine that he
javelin.
built. And then they're like, and oh, by the way, now here's the other movie. Because
Yeah,
like it ends, it gets to a point where he's made it on SWAT. Like, and maybe the end of that first movie is really the airplane like training exercise, you know?
yeah. Like now they
Like
have to do that in real. Yeah,
once they do that, he's redeemed, right? Like he's made it back out of the gun cage. He's set the course record. Like what else does he have to prove, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Tale of two halves. So yeah, I think this movie would have been better served maybe going that route where it spends more of its time on the actual point of the movie, which is the craziness going on in LA. Because I don't know when I started this, and I don't know if this was just because I watched these recently, but I was
Uh,
picturing much more of a build up in the sense of something like Heat or like a Den of Thieves,
right,
and this is
right,
not like that at all.
right.
Um,
where
Yeah,
it's more about the two men, like who in the beginning have a falling out for and have a conflict with each other, and then that resolves itself. Right, that would be what the movie should be about.
yeah.
Yeah,
But we don't even see Jeremy Renner for like he's in the
he
opening scene and then he
disappears for like
disappears
35
for like
minutes.
half the movie. Like we should have just kept following, like going back and forth between the two of them, and having this be a saga of like, look at what happens if you go too far, like over the line, and you become this loose cannon taking the law into your own hands. Like SWAT abides by these rules because these rules are important, and that's being SWAT. Like so, like Colin Farrell can see.
Yeah,
Like I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know.
but I like to me the big thing is movies are about like people and relationships. And like the whole between when Jeremy Renner gets fired and when Colin Farrell makes the airplane thing, their relationship doesn't even exist. You know what I mean? Like he like comes back out of left field and you're like, "Oh yeah, that guy. He's more of a dick than I remember." Okay.
It's yeah, and then they go right into the nut stuff, and you're expecting the cathartic release between the two of them that happens at the end, but you're like, you didn't do any legwork in the beginning. I got nothing out of this.
Yeah. Like honestly, this movie might be 5 stars for me if it starts the way it currently starts, and then the next scene after that is like Jeremy Renner calls him and is like, "Look, I'm coming after the guy." You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you
Like
build
then I'm
up.
in.
Yeah, you build up more, like you lean into like the heat of it, where it's like
Right.
like the Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, like kind of just like standoff. Like, let's see
Right.
what you can do. I'm going to see what I can do.
Yeah,
But
where
this,
they know each other very well, and it's like clearly about those two people, like their conflict and what they're trying to resolve, as much as it's about like the bank they're trying to rob, you know?
yeah, yeah, that definitely would hit a little bit more harder for me. I do well give this movie props though for just being like, we don't give a fuck about any of that. Let's just make the most nonsensical thing you've ever seen.
But it's not mutually exclusive. You can make this where you really explore the like meat and potatoes of the whole there's a guy who they're trying to transport and the whole city's after them. You can make that 85% of the movie and it be totally bonkers, and it's a much better movie if you're focusing it mainly on those two guys, even if
Yeah,
it's ridiculous, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Because like this could have very much been like a very high octane, fast paced kind of like speed type movie.
Right.
And instead it's kind of like doesn't really know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm with you.
yeah. I'm with you, bro. Nice assessment.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
and I think that's pretty much all I got to say. I don't really have any other big points from that movie that I think I need to touch on. What about you?
Nah, I think that's really it. I think that's really it. We touched on the big parts.
Yeah, we rewrote the movie. We got there. Uh, so now I'm interested to see what kind of surprises you have lined up here,
All right. So, we're going to start as always with awards.
dude. There's no way this one. Colin Farrell, best heartthrob.
It has
Well,
5
Cool
award
J, looking
wins.
ripped as fuck.
It has 5 award wins and 5 award nominations, right?
5 for 5. Jesus Christ.
No, no, no. I think in theory if it's 5 wins and 5 nominations, I think it means you got nominated for 10 things.
Okay, all right. So 5 for 10. Not great.
We're not going to talk about most of them though. Like Samuel
Okay.
L. Jackson gets nominated for a few of the he's nominated for Best Actor at the BET Awards, at the Image Awards (parentheses NAACP).
Okay.
Michelle Rodriguez gets nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Imogen Foundation Awards.
Yeah, sure. Whatever those are.
Colin Farrell gets nominated for Best Actor in a Film for the Irish Film and Television Awards. So there's a lot of
That tracks.
hey, that person's in my tribe. Let's give them an award for this big
Yeah,
Hollywood movie
they're
they were
like,
in.
I'm Irish. I'm Irish. He's Irish. We gotta
Right.
nominate him.
That's a lot how that feels. Um,
That's funny.
I don't care about most of these other nominations. We're going to talk about mostly one award and one award only
Oh boy.
because it is like the absolute diamond in the rough of awards.
Okay.
So, we've talked a lot about the MTV Movie Awards.
Yes. Yes, we have. Our
We
favorite
have
awards.
not talked at all about the MTV Movie Awards comma, Mexico.
What?
So,
The MTV Awards, what, international?
yeah. So the MTV Movie Awards apparently has like a Mexican branch off version of the MTV Movie Awards.
That's so funny.
And
Okay.
SWAT is nominated for one thing and one thing only.
Oh boy.
Best Colin Farrell in a movie.
What?
It's, I swear, and this is like apparently like a running theme in these, because I see at least one other that is like best a single person in a movie. There's
That's
also the best Diego Luna in a movie.
He was around in 2003?
I mean, yeah, it looks like he's making mostly like Spanish language films. Although,
Okay,
no,
so he
okay, I
hasn't.
take that back. So there's, well, let's talk about best Diego Luna in a movie, I guess, because we're here now. He wins. I don't know if he can even win because he's in every movie. So I think the movie that wins for best Diego Luna is called Nicotina, which I've never heard of, and that sounds like a Spanish way to pronounce nicotine. So I'm assuming it's like a Spanish, like Mexican movie.
Nicotine?
He is also nominated for Open Range, which I think is a U.S. movie, and
That's
then
the
Soldiers.
Kevin Costner opening.
Yeah, right. And then for Soldiers of Salamina. So I don't know that he's quite a thing, but he's kind of a thing.
He's cutting his teeth, it sounds like.
But best Colin Farrell in a movie, and I'm like pretty sure, I haven't dug into this. I'm pretty sure that all of these did come out in 2003. So this is
I,
how we're going
I'm
to talk
pretty sure
about Colin
he had three big ones.
You're missing one out of the three.
Missing one. All right, so hold on.
Or one out
Let
of
me
the
see.
four, I should say.
Can I guess them?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so right off the bat, Daredevil is
Yep.
is in there. Phone booth
Yep.
got one of the like, yeah, absolutely great. SWAT is our third
Yep.
one.
That's the movie we're doing. Yep.
He's got one more from 2003.
I will
Oh,
give
I,
you
I got
one
it.
hint
No,
that
no,
is
I got it.
difficult.
I don't need it.
Okay.
I got it. The Recruit.
Yep. I was gonna say we've talked about it on the show before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I got it. Dude. What? See, and this is why they're like, maybe we take a break from Colin Farrell for a little while because I would say he went maybe 1 for 4 that year.
Yeah. Um. Interesting. What's your one?
Phone booth.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair. I started watching Phone Booth like the other day, but then my streaming app was crapping out on me, so I couldn't like. I made it like 20 minutes in.
Like physical media is always king, Jim.
I made it up to when Kiefer Sutherland orders him a pizza.
Yeah, dude, great. Just yeah,
Yeah,
yes. What a movie.
spectacular. So, all right, I am gonna ask. Oh, and then the fifth one, which I'm assuming is in that same year.
Fifth one?
Yeah, I mean, you got the four that I've heard of. I don't know. It's also from 2003, directed by Joel Schumacher, Veronica Guerin.
I never would have got that in a million years. I've never even heard of that.
Guerin? I've never heard of it either. I think maybe we were selling we were selling Colin Farrell's Oscar baitness in 2003, maybe a little bit short.
I
So,
don't know.
all
I
right,
don't know if you could say that when Joel Schumacher's the director.
that's fair. It's a fair point. But starring Kate Blanchett playing the titular
Oh,
character, Veronica Guerin, and then Colin Farrell is second build, which
I'm
this
in.
seems a little bit iffy to me. I gotta see this movie because usually on IMDb they put them in like an order of like that's roughly like how important they are to the movie.
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett is top billed here with again the titular character Veronica Guerin, however you say it. Uh, Colin Farrell second billed with with the credit of Tattooed Boy.
Yep. Gonna go with
Sounds,
he's probably not a big part of it.
it sounds like he's not, but maybe it's one of those like I'm not even gonna give this character a name.
That's amazing. An Irish journalist writes a series of stories about drug dealers. That's what the movie is about.
Yeah, which is interesting. I guess she plays the journalist, and then Tattooed Boy, maybe he plays like one of the
One of the
dealers, or
drug
potentially
dealers.
like a drug addict or something.
Sounds about right. Interesting. Well, you had me at Kate Blanchett, Jim. I'll try and watch it.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out. But I'm assuming neither one of us have seen that, right?
No, no,
So
I never even heard. but still five movies in one calendar year. That is best Colin Farrell in a movie
I
for
mean,
sure.
that right. That's the road to getting a Mejor
Yeah.
Colin Farrell and Una Película category.
What movie won?
Uh, so I
You
I
say
will
fucking
tell you what won
Daredevil.
in a second. I want to see how you would rate those four movies.
Okay. So phone booth number one.
Yep.
Um, then I would probably put Daredevil.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
I don't.
really did not like SWAT, huh?
Yeah. Then I would put SWAT. Then I would put the recruit. I think I just because I'm rating them yes on like the strength of the movie, but also on the strength of the Colin Farrell performance.
That's fair.
And
I mean,
in
the,
Colin
the
Farrell as
category is
Bullseye.
literally best Colin
Yeah.
Farrell in a movie. That's a fair
Colin
point.
Farrell as Bullseye. If there's one good thing about Daredevil, it's Colin Farrell as Bullseye.
I don't know. I'm. Did
That
you
man
see
knew it.
Daredevil in theaters?
He knew it. No, I did. No, I did not. We passed 2003. We
Oh,
passed it.
missed it, huh? Interesting. I'm gonna have to rewatch that
Yeah.
movie and see what I think because
He
I
he
remember very
knows
little about it.
he knows exactly what type of movie he's in.
But yeah, my I would just swap Daredevil and SWAT. I would have
SWAT.
phone booth, SWAT, Daredevil, and then the recruit.
Okay.
Actually,
As long as we
I don't
both
know. I
agree.
might put the recruit ahead of Daredevil. I need to
No,
watch
no,
Daredevil again.
no. Just
I
gonna say
didn't hate the recruit. The recruit was at least interesting.
it's a movie, that's for sure.
It's before Al Pacino really jumped off the cliff.
Yeah,
This might have been the start.
before you really, ooh, ah,
Yeah, exactly. This is long before Righteous Kill with Pacino and De Niro.
my God.
Um, so all right, that's your rank. The MTV Movie Awards Mexico put SWAT number one. SWAT won for best Colin Farrell in a movie, which I mean,
Ironic.
it kind of makes sense because I guess he's the star in the phone booth and the recruit as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, they picked SWAT. SWAT won
Maybe
then.
they were just in on SWAT. Maybe they dug it in a way that we do. Maybe we just didn't understand it, Jim. Maybe
Yeah,
we should have
it's
read the book.
possible.
Should have read the book like that girl told us.
All right, and then the next part of this, we're gonna do something a little different, similar to what we've done for I forget what movie, but it was another genre one. Off of piggybacking off of Everett's comment, I am gonna give you some this or that for cop movies from the 2000s. So from
See if
2000 to 20, let's do 2000 to 2009.
okay. See if we can't find some a top fiver of great cop movies.
Yeah, well, I'm more interested to see like where you put SWAT because I know like roughly like what categories I put some of these movies into.
Okay. All right,
Uh,
let's hear them.
so all right, so SWAT, or we're starting off with a real banger that I am almost sure that not many people who would listen to this have ever seen, but I know that you and I have seen it. SWAT or Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Oh my God, that fucking movie.
Yes.
I would take
The
SWAT.
Nicolas Cage
Yeah. Yep.
vehicle. The
Yep.
sequel that no one wanted to the
Wanted.
Harvey Keitel classic, Bad
Yeah.
Lieutenant.
I would take SWAT. I hate that movie. Bad
Yeah,
Lieutenant.
I would also take SWAT. Bad Lieutenant Port of Call New Orleans is like I have to see if maybe going into it with a different mindset would help, but it's like a form of like they should like use that if they were gonna torture people, it could be used to torture people, you
Oh,
know?
absolutely. I can think of only one man who would get enjoyment out of that, and it is our good buddy Mikey, the world's biggest Nicolas Cage fan.
Oh yeah, fair. Um, all right, so SWAT is the reigning champion. Are you gonna
Oh,
take SWAT or 2003, another 2003 movie, 2003's Hollywood Homicide?
Jim, I'm going Hollywood Homicide.
Dang, I'm interested. When was the last time you watched Hollywood Homicide?
I could not tell you. The only scene I remember from that movie, because it lives rent free in my mind, is Harrison Ford yelling at a little girl as he steals her bicycle.
Yeah, fair. I watched Hollywood Homicide like somewhat recently.
Is it horrible?
I'm gonna take SWAT, and I urge you to go back and rewatch it because I'm dying to know what you think of it on a rewatch.
All right. Maybe I'll have to. I am on a big Harrison Ford kick right now. I did just finish the new season of Shrinking, the television show that he's on. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm in a big Harrison Ford kick right now. So maybe I'll throw a little Hollywood Homicide on later.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I I've been seeing commercials for Shrinking because I finally was able to finagle my way into an Apple TV
It's Apple TV.
subscription, so I've
There
been
you go.
watching a lot of TV on there.
Nice.
Are you gonna take SWAT or and think carefully about this because depending on how you answer may or may not determine if we continue the show or not. Are you gonna take SWAT or the Keanu Reeves vehicle Street Kings?
Oh my God, Street Kings easily.
Yeah, okay, thank God. Okay.
Yeah,
I
no,
kind
Street.
of figured you would, but like,
Yeah,
hey, I don't know.
Street Kings, absolutely.
All right, this is the movie where I think I'm kind of calling out Roger Ebert here,
Okay.
potentially.
As did you think this should be the best cop film since Training Day?
Yes, the best cop film since Training Day. I mean, at least over SWAT, like if we're being honest. Like it's not nearly as good as Training Day, but if we're talking like this or SWAT, like I don't know.
All right, let's hear it.
Um 2003's it came out just a couple of months before this, I believe. Bad Boys 2.
Yeah, I would take Bad Boys too.
Yeah, pretty easy, right? I feel like
Yeah,
that's not
it's
even
easy.
close. Like,
Yeah, well, because that movie does what I feel like SWAT was trying to do, which is be the batshit crazy, but also have a through line of like a plot. But also
yeah,
like Michael Bay, much better director than Clark Johnson, who we have probably never heard of from since.
yeah, that's fair. Um, Also, I'm gonna make it clear right now. I'm
Okay.
skipping the ones that are like obviously not gonna be SWAT. I'm only doing ones that I think like I'm interested to hear what you would pick.
They have.
So I'm
I
obviously
got
not doing Training Day. I'm obviously not doing like The Departed. I'll skip American Gangster, Gone Baby Gone. Like movies like that are not Inside Man. Those are not the movies we're talking about. Movies that are
you.
clearly superior to SWAT, right?
Okay,
Um, so I got two more for you.
let's hear it.
2005's Assault on Precinct 13.
Oh boy, Jim, I saw that one in theaters, so we will be getting to that one eventually.
Oh, all right. So maybe we should hold off then. Maybe we should skip
Yeah.
that one for now.
Yeah, I would have to see that one again before I can realistically give my this or that for that because I haven't seen that movie since we saw it in theaters. I remember enjoying it, but I have a sneaking suspicion that that one probably falls in the same category as SWAT, where it's probably painfully mediocre.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think you're probably onto something there.
Yeah.
So with that said, I've got
Put a
three
pin in that
more
one.
here.
All right,
I've
let's
got
hear it.
three more. Uh,
Man, 2000s were tough for cop movies.
dude, it's like it really is like, and these are all ones that I feel like I need to mention to you specifically. Otherwise, I would have stopped doing this a long time ago, right? Um, do you take SWAT or 2006's most deaf breakout role,
Oh, I know what you're saying.
16 blocks?
I'm gonna make you a cake, Jack Mosley. I would have to watch that again too, but I'm going to take 16 blocks based off
I'm
of
taking 16 blocks
what
all
I
day, every
remember
day.
from that movie. I remember
All
us.
day,
I
every day.
remember when we saw that in theaters. We were riding high coming out of that theater on that movie. So I'm gonna go with that feeling.
Yeah, I don't I think it would be hard for the combo of Samuel L. Jackson and Colin Farrell to beat Bruce Willis in a cop movie.
Yeah,
I
fair.
think
Yeah,
that'd
fair,
be tough.
fair. And I remember that being like a very fast-paced movie too.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, in the way that this one wasn't until it started to get going. So giving the edge to 16 blocks right now. Another one will come to. I remember that was a great viewing experience.
Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that in theaters with you. Most deaf, man. All right, two more. Do you take SWAT or real like curveball? It's very different movies. 2004's Starsky and Hutch.
Great cop movie. Starsky and Hutch, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty easy too. And then this one we will not be getting to ever because this is from way back when. 2000, Miss Congeniality.
Oh, dude. Slam dunk right there. Obviously, miscongeniality.
Yeah, for reference, the list I'm looking at for cop movies, SWAT is behind every single movie I just mentioned. It's,
Just crazy because I think we put it ahead of a couple.
yeah, there was a couple I think we picked
Yeah,
out.
there was a couple that we would much rather take SWAT over, but
But I mean, this movie has Assault on Precinct 13 at 7 and 16 Blocks at 8, so we may have many differences of opinion.
well, if I hear some
It's like
bias,
let me read to you this top 8 because we'll get to those two movies. Number 1, Training Day. Number 2, The Departed. Number
okay,
3, Bad Boys 2.
okay,
Number 4, Zodiac. Number 5, American Gangster. Number 6, Gone Baby Gone. Number 7, Assault on Precinct 13.
like
I really feel like
hard
we
jump from
found
6 to 7,
we found the end of the first tier, and then there's like a Mount Everest sized drop until we get to the second tier.
right? Like you went from Gone Baby Gone or whatever the movie was, and you
Yeah,
just like
Gone Baby Gone.
Gone
The
Baby
like
Gone, yeah, Gone Baby
haunting
Gone, and then you
Casey
just
Affleck drama.
and then you just hit me in the face with a shovel to go to assault on precinct 13.
Followed up by 16 blocks at number 8.
Sorry. 16 blocks should definitely be above assault on precinct 13. That's insane.
But
Interesting.
number
But
8?
yeah, I don't know if either of those movies should be in the top 10 of cop movies for
To put it in perspective, number 9 is a movie that I know is near and dear to both of our hearts, Inside Man. The Spike Lee
what
joint.
they put Inside Man behind those two. Get out of here.
Right, exactly. That's nuts. That's
What was 10?
nuts.
Round out the top 10. What was 10?
10 was a movie we've actually talked about a couple times, kind of in passing. Insomnia.
Okay. All right.
Oh no, wait, we haven't talked about this.
No, that's
Insomnia,
the
directed by
Chris,
Christopher Nolan.
yeah, the Christopher Nolan movie. The one it's like the only movie he ever did that he didn't write.
Yeah, that makes sense. Starring Al Pacino and Robin Williams. I don't know, and Hilary Swank. I don't know if I've seen this, but I would imagine,
It's really
based
good.
off of all the names that we just read, that it is probably better than 16 Blocks.
And assault on precinct 13.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a very interesting list. Interesting. Would you agree with that 1 and 2? Do you prefer Training Day to The Departed? I would put
Uh,
I would have The Departed as number one.
I think I would put The Departed ahead of Training Day.
Yeah.
But
I
I
think The
might,
Departed is the better movie, but Denzel's performance in Training Day is like trumps everything.
yeah,
Is that
I think that's fair. I think The Departed is better than Training Day, and I do think that Denzel Washington has. Although I don't know, dude. Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon are pretty great in The Departed.
no, they are fantastic. They weren't even nominated. Like their roles were like perfect for that movie, but it was nothing that it was like fuck, man. Whereas like every second that Denzel's chewing scenery in Training Day, you're just like, dude, this guy's the fucking man. Like this is a master, bro. It's a master at work.
Yeah, I mean he definitely like dominates the screen. Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of a hot take here.
Okay.
I think I might put Zodiac and Gone Baby Gone ahead of both of those movies.
Wow. Yeah, that would definitely be a hot take.
I think Zodiac is like one of the best true crime Hollywood movies I've ever seen.
It is a really great movie. I do love Zodiac. I haven't seen. I only watched Gone, Baby Gone once when it first came out. I would have to rewatch that movie again.
Yeah, I think Gone Baby Gone's real good, man. And it's been a few years since I've seen it, but I would potentially argue that I would put Zodiac and Gone Baby Gone ahead of Training Day and The Departed. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite cop movie?
Nah, I don't like. I barely like giving these movies star ratings. I don't want to pick like a favorite. It's like there's too many, dude. There's like hundreds of
There
them.
are. It's like it's a filthy amount of cop movies, especially when you keep going further and further back. They love to make those good cop movies back in the day.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have like a standout one?
No, I'm kind of in the same boat. There's just so many to choose from, and there's so many great ones. The Departed probably as close as you can get. I do think that movie is just a masterpiece. I would put the
Yeah,
French
it's great.
I put the French Connection up there too. I think that movie is incredible.
I'll give you another hot take. I didn't really care for the French Connection. I didn't love it.
Interesting. Interesting. Like I love the car chase in that movie. I think the car chase is awesome and probably one of my favorite Gene Hackman performances.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is
That's
is
fair.
they just
I mean,
like it's go on.
there's no accounting for taste, right? I fully recognize that like everybody loves the French Connection, and it might just be like I've only seen it the one time. Maybe I was just like not in the right mood, but
Yeah,
I didn't
maybe you
really
just
love it.
understand it, Jim.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I really didn't like. The guy from Jaws playing like the
It's like
partner.
sidekick. Yeah.
Not a fan. Not a fan. I didn't think he was great in it. But again, maybe that was just me. Maybe that was just my attitude when I was watching it, whatever.
That's because my man Chief Brody is a leading man. I don't want to see him as a side guy.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be better than that, dude. I didn't
Yeah.
like seeing Chief Brody as like a kind of corrupt cop, you know?
Yeah. Chief Brody's
Like
supposed
Chief
to be,
Brody wasn't
yeah.
like shaking down anybody at the bar, you know? Like
Chief Brody's supposed to
'cause
be
he was an
there for me.
upstanding guy.
That's my man from Blue Thunder, damn it.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah. So SWAT sidles somewhat into the conversation of cop movies. So way down there in the 16 blocks era of cop movies. I will say though, after hearing you name some of those movies, the 2000s was just all over the place in terms of genre.
Yep.
Because every single one of those movies that you named was just so wildly inconsistent with each other. Like they're
Yeah.
all within the same genre, but they're just all over
I
the
mean,
place.
they're not really all within the same genre. I'm kind of bending the rules here a little bit. Like, Miss Congeniality is a rom-com. it's it's
Yeah,
not quite the same thing as The
it's
Departed,
not a
right?
cop
Like, you
movie,
would
and
be crazy if you said those
yeah,
movies were in the same
yeah,
genre.
like they're both cop movies, but they're very different cop movies.
It's very loose cop
Yeah,
movie as a
yeah,
genre.
like SWAT. They want you there to see crazy cop stuff and action scene. Like
Yeah.
Miss Congeniality, that's just kind of like the backdrop for the story to happen. Like it's not so much like what you're showing. Like there's no one being like, I gotta go see Miss Congeniality, like because I love cop movies. Like
Right, right, exactly, exactly.
yeah,
Um,
so yeah,
but
so
yeah, so and I think that's all we're gonna do for IMDb deep dive this time. I think that's all we're gonna cover.
that
I would
works.
just I'm gonna take my win. I'm gonna take the fact that we agree on Street Kings over SWAT, and I'm
There you
gonna
go.
I'm gonna put
Yeah.
it in my pocket, and we're gonna carry this on home.
We're gonna ride that one to the bank, and we'll turn our attention then to our star ratings.
I'm not gonna play with that.
I was
This is
waiting
this
for it.
is not quite a great film. I
Not
think it like there really is like the potential for it to have been a great film,
listen,
and I do like.
Yeah, but do you think Raj would want the drop right now, Jim? What do you think Raj
I
gave this
think he
movie?
would. I mean, he called it the best cop movie since Training Day, which
He
is an
did.
insane thing to
He gave
say.
he gave this 3 out of 4 stars.
Dang. Okay. What
Uh,
does he say about it besides the Training Day thing? I'm very curious.
they didn't have. He complimented the characters, dialogue, and action sequences, which he
That
thought
is fair.
was
Those are three things
fun.
that happened in the movie.
It's like, yeah, those are things that happen in the movie. Man, Raj was just like us, man. He was one of the boys. Loved himself some down and dirty mediocrity movies. Like big fan.
Absolutely.
All right, but we'll turn it
Um,
over to you, Jim. What's your star rating for this good old SWAT?
I am gonna give SWAT. Man, this is tough. I haven't thought about this beforehand, and now the question is here.
Got him right up against the ropes.
Cause like, all right, here's the thing, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I really do love the last 45 minutes or so of this movie.
Okay.
And it's hard for me to give a movie where there's like 45 consecutive minutes that I love a low score, you know? Like
Okay.
this is a far cry from the American weddings of the world. So I think I'm going to give SWAT a 2.5.
Boy, 2.5. I think that's a respectable place to do. I'm gonna be right around there with you. I'm gonna give it a 2. I agree with you. The action scenes in this movie are fun. Like this, it's not like this movie is like torture to get through. It's just disappointing for what could have been.
Right, right. It's like it's left me wanting the movie that I like kind of saw the bones of in there.
Yeah, exactly. It left us wanting a movie that we saw could have been in there. We didn't quite get there on it. So I think a 2 and a 2.5 is fair. So that's going to give us an overall score of a 4.5. 4.5 we haven't seen in a little while now. So it's going to do battle. We have two other movies with a 4.5. So Jim, do you take SWAT or do you take Head of State?
Oh man, dang.
Right out the gate.
I am gonna take SWAT.
I am also going to take SWAT on that one. And then our final one to do battle for another great comedian. Do you take SWAT or Black Knight?
Oh man, man.
Hard fought battles.
It's interesting because those are two very similar premises for movies, even if they don't seem like it. I mean, for Black Knight and Head of State, like they're both like, what if a black guy did this?
Yeah.
You know? Um,
We got that kind of in this movie. What if Colin Farrell? What if an Irish guy did this?
no, but he's not an Irish guy in the movie, is
No,
he?
I
It's
know,
like
but
he's putting on an American accent.
for Hollywood, they were like, what if an Irish guy was an LA SWAT cop?
Yeah, you just put this in my head, where it's like if like Saoirse Ronan was like in I don't know like the musical version of Mean Girls, you know, like it's just that's what Colin Farrell in this movie feels like.
Dude, I would watch that movie. All right, so wait, no, there's your SWAT too. They're bringing over an Irish cop, and it's just Colin Farrell. He's playing a completely different character.
Oh my god! And he does like the Eddie Murphy Nutty Professor, like he plays both of them.
He
Like one of
plays
them
both
has
of
like a
them.
scar or something.
He's got the Irish brogue and everything.
Um,
Now
yeah,
we got a movie.
but I don't know. What were we talking about? You got me. I
Do,
got off
do,
topic on the Saoirse
yeah.
Ronan thing.
Do you take SWAT or Black Knight as the king of the 4.5s?
Oh, man. I
Gun to
think
your
it's
head.
hard for me to pick against Squat. I want to like very badly, but I can't quite justify it in my head.
That was a vote for. You said
That's
SWAT
SWAT. I'm
for
taking
SWAT.
SWAT.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I would put SWAT as the king of the 4.5s. I think that's a respectable spot for it to be. So it'll slot in the 44 spot, right behind Scary Movie, sits at a 5, and just ahead of Black Knight's 4.5. And that's a solid little area for to be with all those mediocre movies. Now, Jim, we turn our attention back once again to my journey through the 1,000 movies. We are up to our last 2003 movie. We're finally about to put a pin on what was one of the craziest years that we've dove into so far. Do you want to take a guess at what is the final movie that we will be doing from 2003? It is the movie that I double featured Cat in the Hat with, one of the biggest movies of all time.
One of the biggest movies of all time. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Is it a sequel to any movies that we've already done?
Yes, it is.
How many of the movies we've already done is it a sequel to?
We have done both of the preceding movies to this one.
Aha. I think that answers the question because I'm pretty sure. Oh, wait, hold on. There's only two movies that we've done the first two movies of a set of movies in
Okay.
Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
Okay.
And I am. Oh, man. Does Prisoner of Azkaban come out in 2003?
Oh, does it?
Can I
Does it?
look that up? Am I allowed to look that up?
No. No, you cannot.
Okay. I think it does. I think it's like, oh, wait, actually, no. Because we've talked about this. Prisoner of Azkaban is the first one that is a summer release as opposed to a Christmas release. And we've already gone through the summer of 2003. So it cannot be Prisoner of Azkaban.
You got there.
It's The Return of the King.
That's right. We're doing the Return of the King, baby. We're finishing, we're putting a pin in it. We're finishing the Lord of the Rings series. I cannot be more excited to finally be finishing off the Lord of the Rings series. I love this series, and it's going to be interesting because we've given both Fellowship and Two Towers a perfect 10. So now all eyes are on Return of the King to pull off the hat trick and see if we will have here on the channel the first trilogy to get a perfect 10 out of 10 across the board.
Yeah, wow. Oh my God, the suspense. There's no way anybody knows the answer to that question.
I mean, they don't yet. We don't know how we're going to line up on those. I will say the Return of the King has always been my least favorite of the three. So if there ever was a chance for it to not happen, Jim, it could be with this movie.
I will say that for a long time, Return of the King was like unquestionably my favorite of the three.
Mhm.
And then as I've watched them like more and more and more and more, that opinion has certainly changed.
So we may be facing down the barrel of the gun here. It will be interesting to see where our thoughts lie with the finale of
Yeah,
the Lord of the Rings.
wink.
Yeah, wink, wink, wink. I think the
I'll tell
crazier
you right
thing.
now, I 100% know if it is going to be the first trilogy that gets 10 out of 10 for every movie. And
Oh,
I will not
dude,
say
you're
what I think the answer is, but I promise you there is no suspense here.
he's got it in the back pocket. He is a soothsayer. He knows the future, people. But you guys will just have to wait till next week to find out the answer. I think the crazier thing here, Jim, is that I saw this as a double feature with the Cat in the Hat, with the Cat in the Hat being the second movie we watched.
Yeah, pretty wild. I think we'll have to get into that a little more on next week's episode because I'm dying to know what that was like.
Very crazy. So
What is
that
the thought process of what is clearly a lunatic?
yeah, I don't know. Well, I'll have to see next week if I can bring myself back into the mindset of that 13-year-old child who thought that that
We'll
was a
go into the
slam
mind
dunk
of the
idea.
madman.
Yeah. Do you have a recommendation for the people before we sign off here? What have you been jamming on?
I mentioned earlier that I was able to get my grubby paws on an Apple TV
Oh
subscription.
yeah.
So I think, did you bring this up on a previous episode? I could be wrong, but I feel like you did. The Jake Gyllenhaal show, Presumed Innocent.
Did bring that
I
up.
did. You did, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I watched the show Presumed Innocent, and I was a fan.
Nice. Yeah, it was a solid show. I think I still preferred the Harrison Ford movie version of it, but
I don't
uh
think I've ever seen the Harrison Ford movie
oh,
version of it, so I'm on the
oh
hunt.
yeah, dude, track that down if you can, because that's a slam dunk right there. But I did
Oh
like it. I
yeah,
think Jake Gyllenhaal is just great. Like that dude doesn't miss.
the first episode of that show was like, it's been a long time since I've been that hooked into a show in one episode. Like I
That's
watched the
good.
first episode and I was like, man, there is so much mystery here. I am so completely interested in who did it and why they did it and how they did it. And it did a really good job of like something that I think is hard in a show like this, where they had me questioning for basically the whole show whether he did it or not, which I think is like hard to pull off. Like usually they take the angle of like, well, no, I'm gonna make you think he didn't do it, and it's like all these unfair things stacking against an innocent man. Whereas this show, I was like, but I don't know, is that guy innocent? He feels like he's not innocent.
No, they did a very good job with it. It was very well written, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah. What about you? You got anything?
Heck. So we'll stick with the theme of the cop movies because I actually just caught this one to get ready because the sequel just came out in theaters this past weekend. I watched Den of Thieves for the first time.
Oh, I watched that not too long ago too, actually. What did you
Yeah.
think?
Way better than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be like very mediocre and I was just going to kind of put it on to pass the time. But I was in like from the get go. I was just in and I was like, dude, this
Yeah.
movie is a lot of fun.
Yep.
In all the ways that I wanted SWAT to be. Like
I thought
that's
it was interesting that you brought up Heat too, because I did see kind of the parallel. It was sort of like Heat, but with the weird O'Shea Jackson playing a middleman for most of the movie.
yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And then
Like
he kind
in
of like
Heat,
Kaiser Soze is the end of it.
yeah, but like Pacino and De Niro have like more like upfront kind of stuff, whereas in Den of
Yeah.
Thieves, like the guy, like Maddie and Russell Crowe's character, like didn't really talk very much for most of the movie.
Russell Crowe's character. What?
Who's in Den of Thieves?
Gerard Butler.
Oh, Gerard Butler. Yeah, it's not Russell Crowe. Jeez. Oy.
Gerard Butler. Yeah. But yeah, no, the movie was a lot of fun. It was way when I first put it on, I saw the 2 hour and 20 minute time runtime, and I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But then it went by in a breeze. I was fully invested in the movie. Gerard Butler, man, another one. He knows exactly what you want from him, and he
Yep.
delivers every time.
Yeah.
Uh,
As we're talking about this, you brought up like a twist, and I'm realizing I don't know what the twist is. So I feel like Den of Thieves is another movie where potentially I did not finish the movie. I might need to go back and actually like watch it before.
we've got a pattern here of of Mr. Jim here who likes to not finish the movies or not remember if he did or not.
Yeah, the
Um,
last thing I can definitively remember is when the main criminal was calling him and being like, "I'm not going back in braces. I'm not going back to prison." You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
that is very much not the end of the movie.
how much is left after that?
The whole like crime.
Oh wow. I thought it was during the crime though. It's like when he had him in the hostages, he was talking to Gerard Butler, not Russell Crowe.
Oh, like when he calls him, I don't. No, I don't think they say it when they're on the phone on that time. He says it to him like before he's about to commit the crime. Like they have like a standoff, and he's like, "I'm not going back."
All right. Well, I might have to go back and watch Den of Thieves again.
Yeah,
Right.
it's on HBO Max. Check it out at your leisure. Get ready
I
for
mean, I know
Den of
it's on
Thieves
a streaming
2.
service that's available to me because I watched at least part of it not too long ago.
So click on HBO Max and see if you still have the like resume from spot. Like you see how much you got left in there.
Yeah, actually, you're onto something there. I think you
Yeah,
might be right.
we got it. We got there in the end. And then one last one for you, Jim. I won't get this one. The people can be before, but I wanted to make note of it to you because I also just saw Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and our boy
Oh,
Jimmy Woke is in it.
oh, that's right. Yeah, Jimmy
Yeah,
woke update.
yeah, big Jimmy Woke update. He's in the flashback scenes where you find out like what happened to Shadow. And so he's only in like 3 scenes, but god damn if that guy doesn't look great on camera and on screen. Like get this man on the big screen in more things. Like it needs to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. We're gonna. You know what? I'm gonna talk to you about something off air. We'll talk though.
All right, I'm ready for it. But now we turn it over to you guys. Let us know down below what you thought of the movie SWAT if you were one of the few like us who've actually watched it. And then we'll see you back next week when we dive into The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. And as always, we'll see you at the movies.